Hey folks, it's Rob Avis again. This is part 2 of our 6-part video series where we're talking about why your regenerative permaculture-based business might not be working for you. In the last video, we talked about having limiting beliefs or guilt around charging or money or being embarrassed to charge and not being able to have an effective conversation with your clients about what something is worth or what you're charging for it, where the value lies and all that stuff, and how that can really sour the relationship between you and your client. In this video, I want to talk about why you might not be charging enough and kind of this chicken and egg scenario that you find yourself in when you're starting a business, which is trying to figure out how to charge for your products. So if you're just starting a business, one of the questions that I get most often when we're running regenerative mentorship is, how do I choose what my product is worth? How do I choose what my service is worth? What's fair? And it's a kind of a chicken and egg scenario because everybody is going to have a different product or a different service, and people live in different bioregions, and so the economies are different in different places. And so it's challenging to give one answer in the sense that you should charge X number of dollars per hour, you should charge a lump sum for this type of service or product. And so the answer that I end up giving is, one of the ways that you can do it is you can look at what other people are charging. That's a good first place to kind of triangulate, what the market can bear for a service that you have. But you might find yourself in a situation where, let's say you're starting an edible landscape company, you don't have any competition, which is a wonderful place to be in. You're in what they call a blue ocean, which means that there's no competitors. And the blue ocean analogy is an analogy meaning that there's no predators preying on prey, and thus no blood in the ocean. So a red ocean is an economic ecosystem where you've got lots of competition, and so it's really difficult to get into the market. A blue ocean is a place where there is no competition. And there's actually a great book written about this called The Blue Ocean Strategy, which talks about how to enter into a market that already is a red ocean and create your own blue ocean. And one of the best examples they give in that book is the concept of Cirque du Soleil. So who would have ever thought that it would be possible to create a new product category like high-end circus, like Cirque du Soleil has done, in an industry where the circus is kind of associated with all sorts of unsavory things, but Cirque du Soleil did it. So the book is all about how to create new product categories. So if you find yourself where you have no competition, or maybe you are entering into competition, but you really want to get into that business, you might want to check out the Blue Ocean Strategy. So if you have competition, the good news is you can kind of look at your competitors, see what they're offering, what their product offering is, how much it costs, and you can use that as kind of an entry place for what you should be charging or how you should be charging. One of the ways that Michelle and I did that when we were first starting our businesses is we actually traveled abroad. So we went to Australia and we went to Europe, we went to different parts of the United States, and we looked at different people's businesses and business models to try and determine how they were running their businesses, and we actually gleaned a whole bunch of information from all of those businesses to form both vergepermaculture.ca and adaptivehabitat.ca. Now, if you don't have any examples locally or abroad, then you need to go to the next closest thing around you to try and glean some information around what other people are charging. That doesn't mean you're necessarily going to charge the same thing, but it could be a good first place for you to start experimenting with your price. Now, pricing is a fluid activity in your business, and it's always subject to change. Once you set a price, it doesn't have to be like that forever. You have to know that it has to be able to change down the road, which is why if you take a couple of jobs at one number and it doesn't work, you can always increase it as you gain feedback. So let's dig into this concept of feedback a little bit. Feedback is when you can look back on past jobs and learn from your mistakes. And one of the things that happens when people start a business is they go into it because they have a passion for something, and we'll just use edible landscapes as a concept here. And so they go into it so they can do more edible landscapes because there's no jobs available in the edible landscaping industry. And they go in, they start a business, and what they realize is that there's 1,000,001 things that they have to do outside of designing and installing edible landscapes. They've got to do accounting, they've got to do shareholder meetings, they've got to figure out incorporation, they've got to do tax returns, they've got to deal with employees, they've got to deal with insurance. I mean, it's endless. Being a business owner definitely comes with its set of tasks that are not glamorous or fun. And so every time you finish a job, the minute a job is finished, you're either going out to try and get another job, or you're trying to deal with the 1,000,001 other things you have to do as a business owner. And so we can end up in this death spiral of just kind of keeping our pricing the same way and not really reflecting on whether or not it worked for us, because we're so busy doing all the other things that we need to do, and we're not making time to go back and actually look at whether we made money or not. So it's really important that when you're doing jobs that you have a closeout and you try and figure out whether or not what you did actually made any sense for you to do. Because if you don't make money, you're either a charity, a not-for-profit, or you're just not taking business or looking at business through the right lens. And if you're a sole proprietor or you're a small business, I mean, the goal is definitely to make money, but it's also to pay you a living wage. And so if you are not going back and looking at past jobs to see how they did, then there's no real way to know if you're making a living wage or not, or if you're just kind of scraping by, essentially. I remember doing a job once. We do these feasibility studies where we'll go into a property and we'll investigate what's going on their farm or acreage. And these feasibility studies can take up to 400 hours. And so I remember doing the math, dividing what I had charged by the amount of time that it ended up taking me to get to a product that I was really happy with. And I was completely floored by how little I had worked for. So these insights, these kind of reconciliation, are going back and looking at what you did for how much, or what you produced if it's a product, and how much that cost and what the profit margins were, and really being honest about all of the costs are really important to make sure that you're not subsidizing these products and that you're actually in business. So I highly recommend doing that. And there's lots of different ways that you can track your time, there's lots of different ways you can track your costs, but you have to do it. So choose a way that works for you and get really clear about what it costs you to be in business to make sure that you're actually in business. Great, guys, so this concludes video number 2. If you found this interesting and you want more information and some coaching around how to 10x your business, check out Regenerative Business Mentorship. We've got a fall session starting in 2018. I'll put a link to the Regenerative Business page below. And stay tuned for the next videos. We're going to keep going into some of these problems that we see over and over again with permaculture-based businesses. If you found this interesting, make sure you hit the like button, hit subscribe if you want to be notified when the next video goes up. And if you hit subscribe twice with the bell, then you'll be notified when we go live, which we do on occasion on YouTube, and then you can interact with us and ask us whatever questions that you might have. Thanks so much, guys. I hope you have a great day.